I'd be home by 9. Hell, I tell her that most of the time. Whoa, baby, don't know, won't hurt her too much. Whoa, I'll tell her where, but I won't say what. Oh, now I'm dancing, oh, I'm dancing. I'm dancing with the devil. Oh, now I'm dancing, oh, I'm dancing. I'm dancing with the devil. Oh, pour me a whiskey.
Hey guys, welcome back to Otter Creek and Rio Grande and the third installment of this Kitwood Hills turntable kit. So I've been, working on the turntable pit kind of off and on as I'm doing other things. I haven't included nearly anything with what's going on in here other than, some airbrushing, I think in the last video. And I've gone in and ballasted, and it's currently going to dry. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of pop back in as this develops, if it develops, in a time frame that it makes sense to do so. But I'm going to set this side to dry, and I'm going to get started on the electronics of the turntable itself. So I've got a pulse width modulator, and it's a 15 amp, 6 volt to 90 volt unit. And right now I've got a 1 amp, 12 volt power supply going to it. I don't have an on and off switch, but I think that's probably a good idea. In the future, I will introduce an on-off switch, hopefully with an LED. So if it's turned on, you can see it on the fascia and know that it's turned on, and maybe it shouldn't be if you're not using the turntable. I don't like the idea of it being on continuously. And then the motor itself, this is what Kitwood Hills recommends, and his tower to hold the motor is designed specifically for this motor. And he doesn't offer it, you have to purchase it yourself. So hopefully this motor will continue to be produced. You know how motors are. It seems like they last for a period of time, and then people stop manufacturing them. So here's the result. I've got a little flag on the shaft here so you can kind of see, and we'll get started here. You can see it's just barely creeping. I'll go ahead and go full blast. So that is the fastest the turntable can go at 12 volts. I suppose I could maybe do a 15 amp, or not a 15 amp, a 15 volt power supply. You might get a little more speed out of it, but I think that's perfect. I don't think I'd ever want my turntable to go to any faster than that. And, there won't be any indexing. I think if I ever feel the need for indexing, that's going to be in cloud. So I'll figure that out when the time comes. But with that kind of fine adjustment, you can barely even see it moving. So I think I should be able to align the tracks fairly well with that. So I think that's all going to work. I actually have 2 of these units, and then I have another one that's similar that, I've got a third. So let's get on to the turntable and wiring things up and hopefully making this thing work. got the wires soldered in, and I would say there is kind of a magic length there that you need to be able to get those wires at in order for this to go in easily. And the instructions say not to glue it in. You can see the wire there. And it says don't glue it in for maintenance reasons. You know, it'll be easier to get to and maintain at a later date. And of course, I'm like, there shouldn't be any reason whatsoever to get in there unless a solder joint is broke. So with this coming off and on, if there's a reason to take the table off for some reason, which I don't know that there would be a reason to do that, unless maybe you wanted to clean the track a little bit better and shore this up some way to clean it, I don't see that there's any maintenance going on inside there. So I think I'm going to go ahead and glue it. I'm going to try it with matte medium and see if that holds good enough, and we'll see what goes on from there. Because I just don't think that I will see a need to get back in there, because there shouldn't be a reason for those wires to ever come unsoldered. The turntable's just about ready to go. So they provide a bushing, a brass bushing here, and then these two plungers, which are pretty cool. They're spring loaded. So this is actually what bears the weight of the locomotive and or the bridge itself. And I have test fitted the bridge on here, and I don't think the bridge is heavy enough to really put any spring tension on the plunger. So that's interesting. And then the way it works here, you know, this is the direct link to the track on the table. So two wires will go off here somewhere to a frog juicer is the plan. I don't have one yet. I'll have to order one. But all that's looking pretty good. The next step, I believe now, is to start building the tower that holds the motor. I'm gonna hop in here one more time and kind of talk about what's going on with the pit. So I'm gonna get ahead of the comments here and say, yes, I made a decision to put some weeds and grass in my pit. I have seen some evidence that suggests that not every pit in every railroad was perfectly manicured. And, Jimmy Billy has a lot to do, besides pick weeds. So from time to time, the weeds will get a little high in the pit, and they will eventually send somebody in to take care of them. They didn't have weed eaters or Roundup in the late 1930s, so it's just one of those things that might get out of control from time to time on the Otter Creek and Rio Grande. So you can see right in through here, there's a lot of white residue, which I didn't think was supposed to happen. I don't know if that means that I could go even thinner with my solution of matte medium and water. I might try that next time. But I think the next step with the bottom of the pit, after it completely dries, because not everything is completely dry yet, is to go in with, I'm going to say earth, Tamiya earth, or Tamiya earth, however you pronounce it, and kind of see if I can't get rid of that and blend all of this just a little bit better than it is right now. That's the pit. This is the final update on the turntable pit. I don't think I'm going to do anything else to it, at least not in this video. And I'm fairly pleased with it. You can see that all of the kind of the white residue for the most part is gone, or at least muted. I went in with earth, and then after I did the earth, I kind of came in and did a few other things to kind of get rid of the overall sheen. And I think I may have mentioned it earlier, I don't know, that you're not ever going to see in this pit. This is sitting at right at 59 inches. It'll be sunk in to the plywood, and the only thing you're ever really going to see is the bridge. So I'm not overly concerned about what it looks like in there. A lot of this was done as much for practice, for airbrush and future projects. So I'm pleased with the way it looks right now. Now let's discuss this particular aspect of the build. I'm ready for the final fitment of the bridge. And what the instructions say to do, I think I mentioned earlier that you're not supposed to solder the wires in until later. And you're not supposed to glue the turn block here either. I completely ignored the instructions and decided to go with my own thing. And I absolutely glued this into the bottom of the turntable because I don't see a reason that I'll ever get back into the wires. Now, the problem with that is the way the bridge is supposed to go together is you're supposed to take this piece and put it in here and then apply just a little bit of pressure, then slide the coupling. Where's the coupling at? Slide the coupling on the shaft, tighten it down, and then see how the table turns in there. And of course, you can't really do that if you've already built the table and put this other thing on here. It's a little more difficult to do because you can't hold this upside down and put this coupler on and not destroy your A-frame and all of your wires. So I'm going to have to do that, approach that a little bit differently. So I'm thinking I'm going to measure how much this plunger goes down, and I want it to go down just a little bit, and then come up with some kind of known shim, because if I place this upside down, and I know nobody can follow what I'm talking about, with the weight of the table on the bridge, it will completely collapse the plungers, And then I should be able to shim between this and there's a couple of other wooden shims in there that should allow the plungers to push the bridge back up. That's what I'm going to try and do. It's probably going to take a couple of 2 or 3 goes, but I think that's going to work. I'll take pictures. Maybe it'll make a little more sense. I don't know. The first bench test is a success. Very pleased with the way that all worked. And I'll try and explain one more time, how the motor works with the plungers. So you want just a little bit of compression into those plungers, but you don't want so much that they're really compressed. You want just enough that you get solid contact all the time. Once you figure that out, you're going to have a solid link between the motor shaft and the main shaft, to the table. So once you get all that locked in, there's not going to be any moving up and down of those plungers. So the only thing I have left to do now is I do want to test this with DCC and make sure that I've got power going to the table itself and take a couple more trips around and see how the sound works on the sound decoders. Well, unfortunately, I don't have any track power going to the rails. And I'm positive that the reason why is because when I shimmed to kind of guess what it needed to be, this is what I used, which is about 2 millimeters. My guess is I'm riding completely above those plungers, so I'm not even making contact to the copper plate on the bottom of that. So I'm going to do a little more experimentation and kind of figure out how to get that bridge to evenly come down and make good contact with the plungers, but not so far that there's a lot of friction. That's, what I found out through my initial testing without the motor is that if it sits very far down into those plungers, like close to all the way pushed in, it wants to bind. So it just needs to ride just pushing a little bit on those plungers, and I'm not there yet. So I'm going to do a few more things and figure it out. The motor works good though. I really like the way it spins. Okay, I think everything is a go. So what I ended up doing, I started with 80 thousandths and I decreased it down to about 20 thousandths. So I cut the distance in half that the bridge was pressed into, or I pressed the bridge into the plungers by, another 20 thousandths of an inch or so. And made all the difference in the world. Everything seems to be running real smooth. The only thing I need to do now is, maybe install this somewhere temporarily. Well, I've got another temporary installation of a turntable here at the end of the staging yard at Cloud. So what I've done is I've come down a ½ inch and then had to come up another ¼ inch. And then this is even shimmed up about another 2 thousandths to get it all kind of running flush in here. So I've got the bottom of the rails are coming right in on top of that outer ring of the pit itself. The bridge still wants to bind just a little bit, especially for some reason if it's going clockwise. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I think that there's maybe a little bit of unlevelness. I'm a little higher on this end than this end, but it really shouldn't be enough to matter. But it's going to work. It's going to look good. It's just a matter of getting it all put in, and I may go ahead and let the bridge come up at the coupling just another maybe 1/1000th of an inch. I may do that before I do the final installation in Hellgate. Let's go ahead and bring the 453 on and see how this works. Hopefully I've got the polarity in the right direction. Forgot to switch the polarity. Well, in closing, I really can't say enough good things about this kit. It went together really well with a couple of little exceptions that I've already talked about and I'm not going to dwell on. Very well engineered and, for the most part, a joy to build. I highly recommend, if you're an older era modeler in steam, this is, I would say, in my experience thus far, this is the best turntable kit that I've seen. There may be some others out there that I missed. This did come from the UK, so, but it very reasonably priced. Just a wonderful kit to put together. I'm going to stop yammering here, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. I thought I was going to build the other two that I have of these back to back. I've decided I'm not going to do that because they're just not ready to go in yet. So I'm going to wait until I'm closer to knowing when they're ready to go in. I think it'll be the Dirty Shame. I think I'm gonna build a structure for Silver Gulch. I've been wanting to do that for a while. I've just been kind of putting it off. But the first thing I'm gonna do is do some operations here on the Otter Creek and enjoy a little bit of break in between builds. So thanks for watching. We'll see you around Otter Creek and Rio Grande.